the Republicans are such a clusterfuck that I think people are trying. It became a new norm really quickly. Like people aren't amazed at how just what an absolute shit show these guys are every fucking day. It's almost an example of what I would call chaos strategy. If you haven't got your shit together, fuck up everything else. So by comparison, like there's a fire over there. What are you bitching me about? I didn't do my work. That kind of shit. Okay. So the Republicans are, and I mean, honestly, I can't think of a single thing that they are managing to do in government right now with any function whatsoever. I mean, okay, I'll rephrase that because obviously, ironically enough, Mike Johnson is has passed this continuing resolution bill, and it got it through. Can I tell you the story? Join me now. Follow me now. This is Chip Roy and this is Mike Johnson. It's often hard if his face is on screen, you kind of think Johnson, but because he's a dickhead. But so this idea was floated in the Freedom Caucus with the Freedom Caucasians that they were going to put together what's called a laddered CR, meaning a continuing resolution that gets us to January. And then in January, we're going to go through all these appropriations bills. And they're like, we can't fucking do that. We can't get all 12 of these things one at a time. Nobody's going to trust us to vote on one of these things and not fuck up the other vote. So let's just put two packages together, half and half. Instead of a big 12 appropriations bills, let's do two, round one, round two, January, February. And the Freedom Caucus went, absolutely. We're for this. And what they did was this is really what happened. They front loaded the January one with all the shit they like. And then they put all the stuff they don't care about or want to defund in the second one, arguing basically that they'll like hold their alleged votes for the second one hostage if the first one doesn't pass. If anybody tries to hold up, military funding or border funding or, I don't know, anti-woke military shit or whatever the fuck. All the stuff there, the farm bill, put all that in the first one. Suck up to farmers, military, all that kind of funding in general. Put that in the first one. And they go, if you don't vote for this one, we're not going to vote for the second one. And then don't vote for the second one and let it collapse. And that's got the Department of Education and the DOJ funding and the fucking FBI, whatever, all their fucking angry bullshit. Okay. And that was how they laid it out. And that's how Mike Johnson laid it out. They sat down, they were like, here's our two packages. Group one, all the shit we like. Group two, all the shit we don't like. Ha, 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 ha. And in January, this is actually how it fucking went down. This is why, if you can figure out why the fuck they're extra mad and why he feels like, you're like, what the fuck why is he about to snap? I mean, he knows what happened. I mean, it's embarrassing that they fired McCarthy for doing exactly what Mike Johnson says, but what the fuck is going on? Why are they that upset? Okay, this is why they're that upset. Somebody in the draft proposal stage they had multiple versions of group one, group two. And one of them was, get this, a relatively balanced version of those things where the military funding is in the second one, but the farm bill and the Department of Education is in the first one, and Department of Transportation funding is in the second one, but fucking border security is in the first one. And so they split it up in that you got to vote for, for three of the things you hate, you got to vote for three of the things, for three things you like, you got to vote for three things you hate in each of these fucking packages. And it's fairly evenly placed out. Well, somewhere along the way, this draft version of that particular page with those versions, not the Freedom Caucus version of the two groups, that got put in to the bill they were actually voting on. The draft version with the actual balanced ones. And nobody knows who did it right now. Nobody knows. And so the Republicans right now, because it was their caucus in charge and Mike Johnson's office in charge of putting together the actual bill that they voted on, they think it's somebody in their crowd. They're like, the word Judas is being thrown around with absolute zero biblical fucking knowledge. Benedict Arnold. I'm not kidding. This is really what fucking happened. And somebody snuck in this draft of it into the version that Mike Johnson put on the floor, and everybody voted on it. And so a bunch of these dickheads voted for a version that they might have been. Look, Chip Roy and these other assholes, even though they insisted on these changes and thought they were in there, didn't vote for it. Let's just put that a fucking side, just in its own little pocket. Like you demand something and then you get it and then you don't vote for it. And then interestingly enough, you don't, it wasn't me. It was the one-armed man, right? Somebody, I guess, pulled a just the tip, because it wasn't the whole bill draft. It was apparently just that page, and they voted on it. And so that's the one that went to the Senate. That's the one that came back. That's the one that's going to be law. And so hence perhaps why they're a little testy. You see, because what's going to happen is in January and I suppose in February, they're going to have to vote on this laddered CR, this continuing resolution to fund one part of the government and then the other half, that it's going to be a compromised package where they have to vote for shit they hate to vote for shit they like. And if they don't vote for the shit they like, somebody else will, and it's going to fucking pass. Yeah, you had one job. Oh, it's just so good. It's that really happened. And you know why that happened? And here's the best part about it. The best part about it is McCarthy probably would have checked. McCarthy, having gone through one of these fucking negotiations before, would have noticed. But Mike Johnson, because everybody's trying to crawl up his fucking keister and bat him around and try to, cajole him into doing what they want, probably just didn't have the fucking hard drive space with his new job and all these assholes crawling up his keys to even notice. McCarthy would have saved this for the Freedom Caucus, and they fucking fired him. This is good stuff. I'm just saying. That's good stuff. Oh, and George Santos isn't running for office because the ethics report came out and basically said he was a criminal crimer, and they were like, fuck. And so anyways, he's splitting. So there's going to be a Democrat or at least a moderate Republican in there. But let's see. Breaking news. Now, with that backstory, perhaps this will inform somebody will inform what I said might inform you about why these people are freaking out about this. I'm just saying. Okay. Freedom Caucus members issue blunt warning to Speaker Johnson about spending bills. From yesterday. Here we go.
First, you can, but I want to let the print reporters get some time. So,
all right. So you saw today that the rule for CJS failed to garner the votes to pass. We want the message to be clear to the American people and to our leadership. We are done with the failure theater here. We're not going to pass bills that don't address the problems that America faces.
Oh, you mean you're not going to offer up bills that have no chance of passing, just wasting everybody's fucking time? That's what failure theater is, by the way. I don't know what his definition of it is, but that's exactly what these motherfuckers do. That's literally what Matt Gaetz and all these assholes have been clamoring for.
Nothing in here to defund the new FBI headquarters. Nothing to defund the unconstitutional gun registry.
There's nothing unconstitutional about a well-regulated militia being important to the United States. Therefore, the right to keep and bear arms should not be infringed. You can keep and bear them all the fuck you want, but we can also know what you got in case we get to call you up to be part of the militia, fuckwad. Guess what? That's what good old-fashioned founding fathers conscription looks like. That's what that well-regulated militia part is. A well-regulated militia, is necessary in case in case King George or some syphilitic inbred great-grandson of his decides to float over here on a fucking boat and try to take back our land, then we can fight him off. But we need to know who's got guns and how much ammo. And that's why registry of guns and ammo is absolutely constitutional. You fucking tit.
The bill is very, very weak, and
You think that's weak? You should see your voting position currently.
also, I must say, the closed rule on Iran, with the president out there offering Iran $10 billion in the light of what just happened in Israel, is unacceptable.
Yeah, he's not actually offering them $10 billion. He's just allowing Iraq to continue to buy gas from them because the alternative is directly from Russia, or they'll buy it underground from other worse actors in the area. And again, it's a way to tie up their funds, because if it goes into an allied country like it did with South Korea, for example, we can freeze it. If they buy it, if Iran sells it to China, we kind of can't freeze their assets because they're out of they're outside the realm of sanctions. But Iraq isn't. Iraq needs us. So if we at any point need to freeze Iranian funds for their oil and gas sales, it's a zero-sum game. If that oil and gas can be sold somewhere. If it's sold to a country we have no control over, we can't do anything about it. And they will. If they're allowed to sell it to Iraq and we need to shut it off and freeze the accounts, we can, because we have a relationship with Iraq. This is a bunch of fucking checkers masters trying to navigate what a fucking bishop does.
Acceptable to have a closed rule where we can't actually get the legislation that will deny the president's ability to send that money to Iran and embolden our enemies and have.
Yeah, he's not actually sending that money to Iran, dipshit. We're not sending money. Again, at least talk about it like you fucking know what it is. It's allowing Iraq to purchase oil and gas because they continue doing it. It's a continuation of a waiver that's existed for a long time. And again, it's so that we have a direct route to be able to sanction and stop that shit eventually if we can. That's why you can give them waivers, because they participate in it. If you don't give waivers to people who buy it on the black fucking market, dum-dum.
American citizens paying both sides of that war. So we've had enough. We're sending a shot across the bow. We do this in good faith. We want to see these bills move. We want to see good, righteous policy. But we're not going to be part of the failure theater anymore. I want to turn to Andy Biggs, if he's here, and then Chip Roy.
Yeah, thanks. Ditto with what the chairman said.
Good old Rush Limbaugh language there. Ditto. Got a fellow ditto head.
And I would also throw in continued funding for the FBI headquarters. Killing that amendment was ridiculous. But I want to point out, I want to talk about something else. We had an amendment on the floor today to defund the office that has misplaced over 100,000 unaccompanied children. We don't know where they are, but we do know many of them have been placed with pedophiles. There's been no vetting and inadequate vetting because this administration changed the vetting.
Wait a second. So this is about immigrant children and where they're placed or whatever. Most of them are with their parents. And one of the reasons they don't list them is because of psychopath, asshole right-wingers who will hunt them down. That's another thing entirely. It's not where they don't know where they are. They specifically aren't listing where they are. There's a difference. The other thing is that it was the Trump administration that lost a bunch of these motherfuckers and never sought to get them back. Biden put it in the system when we came in about the separation of kids from their parents, if they were indeed their parents at all, and try to find their way back to these parents. Now, that's another issue entirely. Here's my thing. You don't solve that problem through defunding. Because if you don't have enough agents to keep track, or you don't have a system in place that would track immigrant children better, you don't lessen the funding for that. You increase it, and you insist on a program that seeks them out and finds them, do you not? Granted, you have to actually give a fuck, which I would argue, honestly.
And Republicans killed that amendment. That is unacceptable.
Oh my dear goodness, gosh, God darn it, for God darn, who is it, Mr. Singleton?
We have got to hold this administration accountable.
This administration? Dude, you can't even hold your fellow Republicans accountable. What the shit are you talking about? Accountable for what? Republican votes?
We have to hold our fellow Republicans who allow this kind of tyranny to go forward, and we should not be...
hold them, I'm sorry, you have to hold them accountable, or...
We have to hold our fellow Republicans who allow this kind of tyranny to go forward, and we should...
Hold them accountable, or you just want to hold them? I mean, hey, you know, I'm a big believer in daily hugs are crucial for life. It says that, you know, especially the more you're involved in technology, you need maybe 2-3 hugs a day just to, you know, ground yourself. It's a great, but I mean, I would ask first. I wouldn't take the sort of Trumpian position on it. Just run straight up to your fellow Republican, to Chip Roy or somebody and grab him by the prison goatee.
Should not be funding that. So I'm going to turn it over to Chip Roy.
Well, he said a lot.
Yeah, look, I agree with Scott and I agree with Andy. Let's be very clear about what's going on.
That you guys agree?
We set out this year to change the way this place works. We wanted to change the rules. We wanted to restore regular order. We wanted to get to the place where the people's voice could be heard regardless whether you're in leadership or not.
And you failed miserably. Good to know. All right.
Our election certificates are every bit as valuable as somebody who has the title speaker or chairman.
Yeah, but then so is all the other Democrats are equal to you as well. So this sounds like an argument for compromise, you tit.
The fact of the matter is, what we saw yesterday unfold by suspension of the rules, $400 billion of continuing resolution of Pelosi's priorities and Pelosi's spending levels, that is unacceptable. Today, they tried to pass a closed rule on Iran, which, while it was a bill that was targeted towards the $6 billion, it paled in comparison to amendments that we had that would have actually checked Iran the way they need to be checked, by getting rid of the waiver authority that this administration is abusing to side.
Oh, I see. That Trump didn't abuse it when he gave Iran a waiver to sell to South Korea, which is where the $6 billion came from. To be abundantly clear, the $6 billion is being held in the South Korean account that the Biden administration said, give us the hostages and we'll release, which, by the way, they froze after the Hamas attack in Israel. So they never got the $6 billion. We did get the hostages, though. So these guys are still grinding about that shit. That $6 billion was earned during the Trump administration because of a waiver for Iran.
With Iran over Israel. What on earth is going on?
We're siding with Iran over Israel? First of all, let's be abundantly clear. Hamas and their relationship with Iran is obvious and clear. However, the people of Iran versus the mullahs that run the place are very similar to sort of the Palestinians in the West Bank, I would say, and Hamas. There's a disconnect between the people and the leadership. And long term, you don't want to starve the Iranian people to death. You want to look like you're making mitigatory steps in case at some point another Arab Spring happens, they topple their government and they're able to recognize that, hey, we've been trying to help you fuckers this whole time. That's what this is about. These assholes just see Iran through like 1980 glasses.
Israel is under attack, and we're funding through the CR yesterday Hamas.
No, not really.
Dollars that go to the United Nations through UNRWA. That is unacceptable. We can't do that.
Through dollars that go to the United Nations through UNRWA. So the idea is that they wanted to defund our part in the UN, which is something they've always wanted to do, under the premise that because there's a UN refugee group that particularly deals with Palestinians that's there to make sure they don't die of septicemia or what have you, that's us funding Hamas. Get the fuck out of here.
We can't have a closed rule and not have a full-throated debate.
No, but you can have a big gulp of that sweet latte right over your shoulder. It's a little hard for me to take seriously the end times kind of rhetoric of this dickhead while this dude is just fucking straight up guzzling a latte behind him. It's got a very let them eat cake kind of vibe.
About checking Iran. This is not why Republican voters send Republicans to Washington. So
Yeah, I know, but not all Republican voters sent Republicans to Washington to do exactly the same fucking thing. And one of the things they didn't send the vast majority of your colleagues to do in a bunch of other districts was to destroy the U.S. economy and our standing in the world just so you could get some priorities to pitch your bullshit to your crap district around Austin that you have a stranglehold on.
we're standing up and we said no today. And
No, I said it, and you better believe it.
the Speaker has now 10 days to work it out and get Republicans to actually stand up and fight when we get back. He's promising a fight, so we're sending a message.
You guys are already fighting. I don't know what he's. Didn't you see Kevin McCarthy? What did he do? He hit that dude in the kidney. Which I'm sure caught him off guard.
Right now, we expect that fight when we get back from Thanksgiving. We need
The world is ending. Do you understand? We're funding terrorists. The UN is flooding weapons, and we're funding both sides of a war. And it's the job that we just passed a resolution that's going to destroy the economy as we know it. And as soon as I'm done with the Thanksgiving holiday, I'll be right back.
a plan to reduce spending overall from 23 to 24, pay for any supplemental spending, stop spending blank check money to Ukraine, stand with Israel, hold the Senate in check, and do what we need to do to secure the.
Yeah, you guys don't get to hold the Senate in check, fuckwad. They don't have half the problem getting reelected you do. They get to do it every 6 fucking years, dummy.
Southern border. That's what the voters expect us to do. And
No. I think that's what you sold to your voters that you were going to do and you could do, and and it would be easy. You're telling them the sort of Trumpian story about, man, we get a hold of this thing and pow, and then you're going back to your district over the holiday with your fucking hat in your hand.
that's the message we wanted to send today, going home for Thanksgiving.
I would just add on the heels of this CR that kept in place all the Biden, Pelosi, Schumer policies and spending.
Yeah, I know. Could you say that again? My nipples are getting hard.
Levels that are destroying the country. You have.
Are they destroying the country though? We just had 5% GDP. Like we're gonna end up with like 4.3% GDP for the whole fucking year. And the longest sustained unemployment below 4% in 50 years. It's about to pass that actually. It set a new record. But anyways, destroying the country. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. There's something about destroying the country.
If any bill we should be cutting spending on, it would be this bill. A rogue Department of Justice, a rogue FBI, and we're actually increasing that spending and doing
Yeah, you are.
very little in the way of correcting a federal government that's weaponized against its citizens, abusing its power. And so we sent a major statement to that effect today. And we're
Yeah, it was a major statement of failure. That's what it was. We failed. Yeah.
not going to continue to do business as usual here in Washington. We want to support our speaker in bringing the change that needs to be brought on behalf of the American people.
But we also are going to fire him right after Thanksgiving if he doesn't do what we say. And he can't do what we say because we're fucking lunatics. So, I don't know. I guess, boy, Thanksgiving to Christmas could be fucking embarrassing.
I was just going to say, going back to
The witch! A witch! She's a witch! The witch! So, those of you who don't know, this chick has been, she's been declared a witch by other Republicans. I don't know why. She was like involved in witchcraft. Whatever. It's just a running gag. Paulina Luna, Rep Paulina Luna, and she's a witch.
what Representative
She turned me into a newt. I got better.
Biggs said, if it was these members' children, I can guarantee you they wouldn't have supported that bill. So to put it in perspective.
Oh, if it was these members' children, they would have sworn that were missing, you mean? That are not accounted for? So let me get this right. Let's say your kids are missing. And one of the options you have is, the cops are looking for them. you know, that they are, there's an organization that puts together, you know, and coordinates volunteers and the FBI and stuff. And you're saying, my kids are missing. I would let, and the only option I have is to cut funding to the people that would be looking for them. What happens to a child in that situation? What do you call that? Darwinism, for fuck's sake? Are you out of your goddamn mind? Why wouldn't you, in the appropriation, like, we have 100,000 kids and we don't have the agents to look for them. How much do you need to hire some more fucking people to deal with these kids? Because it matters to us. We need this much. Well, fuck you. That was what they did, basically. That's what they're talking about.
You know, we're up here. There is a moral aspect to this fight. And frankly, I mean, to include what happened with the FBI and the weaponized DOJ, we have the ability to make change. A lot of people will go on television and tell you one thing, but they're doing another thing when it comes to votes and behind closed doors. And we're going to...
That's sad. It's the state of your current Republican Party. It's got to be difficult. A witch! A witch!
be holding them accountable, to include the speaker.
There are ways of telling if she's a witch. What are they? Do they hurt?
We like him a lot. He's a nice guy.
Which is, by the way, in the... I know this is a side note, but in the witch segment from the Holy Grail, the funniest line in that whole thing is when Terry Jones says, there are ways of telling if she's a witch. And everybody's going, what are they? What are they? And Michael Palin goes, do they hurt? Do they hurt? Like, it's so good. There is so much in that fucking line. Do they hurt? God. Oh, I love Michael Palin. He's one of the purest, funniest people that's ever lived.
But we're going to make sure that he follows through on what he said he was going to do.
Michael, hold on.
Yeah, I sit on the appropriations committee too, and one of the big issues I had is that
does it hurt? Sorry.
this bill really skipped the appropriations process, and so there
Real quick, why are you the tallest guy there with the smallest voice? Never mind, go
are a
ahead.
number of conservative amendments that we wanted to offer that did not get
Conservative amendments or conserve amendments? I don't recognize which word you used there because you're kind of never mind.
it into the bill. And you know, amendments like, there were two amendments that I had offered that had
Okay, shine, buddy, shine.
to deal with how DOJ collects information. And so they're not supposed to be able to get this kind of information on American citizens, your financial data, other kind of data, without getting a warrant. And so what they've done, instead of going through the due diligence of getting a warrant, they just go ahead and go to data aggregators and purchase this kind of information to build their databases.
Right, which wouldn't be a law about them. It should be a law about how easy it is to sell your fucking data. If the data is for sale openly and you've signed terms of service that allow them to have that stuff, then the government buying it is not an abject workaround. It is not them it's not them framing you or anything. That's a problem with the banks. But the problem is, to pass something like that, you know where they'd have to go? You know where this piece of would have to go? The Financial Protection Bureau. The child of Elizabeth Warren, that you'd have to go there and establish a law under that, more than likely, or guidance and regulations under that disallows them from selling your data without express consent or a warrant or something like that. But if it's for sale, sorry, if a private citizen can buy it, the government can buy it. It's like saying the government can spy on you. How can they spy on you? Well, you're on the beach and they can see you. But it's a private beach, but there are no banners up on either side of it hiding you. So you pay to be on the beach, but they sell binoculars to everybody around, and you can just buy a pair of binoculars and look at people on the beach. That's what it is. Get the fuck out of here.
One of the big issues that the chairman mentioned was the ATF database that we found out there's over 1 billion gun records that they've collected on American citizens. Now, that's supposed to be illegal, and they know it's supposed to be illegal. They just
No, it isn't.
call it something else.
No, it's sales records. You can keep track of sales records, shithead. It's not illegal. And the other thing is, like, there's only one reason why, it seems to me, Seems to me these guys are worried about gun registrations. The idea that they don't like the idea of the authorities showing up knowing exactly how many guns you have in the fucking house because you want to surprise them with your armory. It's, you know, if they know I've got a handgun, but they don't know about my 50 cal, that kind of shit. That's what they want. They want it to be a big fucking surprise when the FBI shows up with a warrant or something and guys walk up and knock on your door. They want the cops or the FBI when they show up with a warrant to be taken by surprise, be able to be ambushed by any of these fucking lunatics at any time, or fear being ambushed and therefore never serve, which is more the thing, never serve the subpoena in the first place, or the arrest warrant, or any of that kind of shit. It's just, it's fucking ridiculous.
Other than a gun registry. There's a number of other issues. One, we found out through a whistleblower, they're giving bonuses to agents based on domestic violent extremist cases. And so the issue with that, of course, is what we've seen.
And that's a problem. Why? I mean, I think they would have to get a conviction or something, right? It's not just filing them. You know, like meter maids will get a bonus based on how many tickets they hand out. But if they hand out tickets on cars that don't exist or for meters that weren't expired, they're going to get in trouble, and therefore they'll go to jail because that's fraud.
The DOJ label people ask. So we've had parents at school board meetings. We've seen
No, you haven't.
Catholics, traditional Catholics targeted.
No, you haven't. The president himself is a quote-unquote traditional Catholic. You got to do something, you dumb motherfuckers. No one is being arrested for being a parent or being a parent at a school board meeting or stating that they don't like something about the curriculum in their school. It's the fucking death threats. This is weird. And this is, I have to say, like, they keep, like, I don't know, they keep, like, volleyballing this fucking argument up in the air, waiting for somebody to spike it, and it never works.
You know, these are not the people that should be, that agents should be incentivized financially to go after.
They aren't. They're not financially incentivized to go after parents and traditional Catholics. You know why? Because they would not get the bonus. They have to find somebody who's actually engaged in domestic terrorism or is planning domestic terrorism. They don't get the bonus just for going after somebody. They get the bonus based on a conviction or stopping some sort of plan. And there are other people involved to verify this shit. How the fuck did this guy get elected?
Want proper due diligence. And so if amendments...
Did they think the FBI operates like old-fashioned bounty hunters in a Western?
Like that aren't going to make it into basic conservative bills, then we need to stop this and rethink about the process.
And so, let them be heard, right?
Yeah, and so the process got usurped in this process.
It got usurped? Somebody usurped it? Well, that's different. Somebody comes in and usurps the whole thing. Were they sipping the usurp, or when they usurped it, or they usurped it? Please tell me there was an actual usurper in Congress. Somebody just rolled in on a giant fucking Clydesdale with a broadsword and a long beard and a crown. I am Claudius the usurper. Shut the fuck up.
And so we need to make sure we're doing what's right for the American people.
Well, part of what happened too in January was to not have closed rules, as they mentioned, to be able to have amendments.
Yeah, you fired that fucker. So I don't know what to tell you. That guy was giving you what you wanted. You just decided to fucking kick him to the curb. How's this our problem?
This didn't happen on this bill. And the only way.
Yeah, you didn't have that speaker in January. You had in January when you went through all that shit. Did you notice that it's a different fucking guy? One guy's really tall, and the other guy, when his son watches porn, his phone goes bow chicka wow wow.
We're going to change the culture here is cut the money off. That's the only way we're going to do it.
No, that's not. No, that's not actually how you do it. As a matter of fact, you might want to spend on priorities. And if your priorities actually fucking work, they would convince people to move in another direction. But you always roll in trying to just kind of undermine the function of government, and everybody goes the same old, so I don't know what you're actually arguing for.
And everybody made a big deal of it. And this isn't against Mike Johnson. He's been.
Well, of course not. It couldn't possibly be. You're holding him to a standard that he's not held to anymore because you're talking about the other guy that you fired who was, fuck you.
On the job 20 days. He's a good man. So.
He's a good man who did exactly what Kevin McCarthy did, only dumber.
It's not about Mike Johnson, but this country's in financial trouble. The only way we're going to change it is start cutting the funding.
No. I mean, think you can. I would argue you can, especially where there's potential for new streams of income, technology being the one. Imagine, if you will, the impact that AI is going to have on the economy is unmeasurable at this point, but it's going to be extraordinary. We're talking multiple trillions of dollars that will change about the economy in general and how the world works and all this kind of stuff. Not only will there be more money made and in the system because of it, but also it will limit costs of things. It will start eradicating the costs of a lot of shit, right? That AI is going to have that impact. And imagine, if you will, these dumb motherfuckers, right about the time the internet was being opened up, going, only thing we can't give money to these pilot projects looking to provide internet to whoever does it. You know, if people want to get on their computers in their houses and eat their fucking Cheetos in the basement, that's one thing.
And this is the only process that we have. But
no, it isn't. No, it isn't. You could present a program that solves the problem you're talking about, that requires alternate funding, but that actually solves it. You can take a problem. Right now, the issue is the Republicans' only fallback is we don't believe any of the problems exist. And so anybody who's trying to solve them is evil and just trying to throw money away. And the only problem we see is people like Donald Trump have to pay too high a taxes at 0.0%. That's the only problem they can see that needs solving.
the close rule was not right. The amendments that Michael and everybody else talked about was not right. We should
Well, neither is what's going on in his head.
have been able to offer that. And talk about Iran that Chip talked about. We funded them through oil money.
What did we fund them through? Oil money. Did we? How did that work out? Just explain to us, goober.
We're funding them through the oil money. This is a pittance.
This is a pittance. We're funding them through the oil money. This motherfucker, if you didn't know anything about what I told you about this simply being a waiver so that Iraq can buy Iranian oil, and Iraq would be paying that money to Iran. Didn't this make it sound like we're paying $10 billion? We're funding them. We're buying Iranian oil or something?
The $10 million or the $10 billion or the $6 billion. So this is the first of a lot of them that we're going to do this on.
Yeah, this is the first of a lot of them we're going to do this one on. And, you mean fail? Yeah.
What makes you all confident that you can actually be able to pass a number of appropriation bills, given the fact that you all obviously have certain concerns on spending? Some of your own Republican colleagues are saying, no, we're already cutting way too much. We shouldn't be cutting anymore. They're also already being critical of you all, saying that you all are holding hostage your own.
What's it like being an asshole? Anybody could start. Go ahead.
Appropriation process.
No, the appropriators are holding the process hostage. The
appropriators? That's all of Congress.
They are ganging up against the amendments that are allowed on the floor. It's essentially.
You mean they're outnumbering you? This is the moment when he discovered that being a minority is sometimes difficult.
A kill list. They put them on the floor to act like you're getting your voice, knowing that they're all going to vote against them. That is what I characterize as failure theater.
I see. So they should just tell you they're not going to vote for it so that you can not waste your time selling the shit. And why is this motherfucker staring at us?
Looks like it's supposed to be good. You're supposed to be having a voice, speaking on behalf of your constituents.
Does this asshole not know how, like, Congress actually fucking works? You make your speech, you put your amendment forward. That's what he's getting, by the way. That's the thing. A lot of these amendments never made it to the floor because the leadership said, nobody's going to fucking vote for that. That's not going to make it. So I'm not going to have you embarrass the entire party by bringing up something that they have to either vote down or tell you to go fuck yourself when there's no chance of it passing. No, you can't bring the amendment to the floor. It's a waste of fucking time. We got a lot of work to do. And you know, and everybody fucking here knows that it's not going to pass. Fuck off. If you want to present an amendment, write it up and send it to me. And if we think it can actually, we'll whip the votes and see if we've got it anywhere close, then you can present it on the floor. That's how a functioning party works. That's how the Democrats do it every time. Good Lord.
Constituents, each one of us, 750,000 people, that's designed to fail. We're done with that.
And then, hold on a second. This is important. We've passed 7 appropriations bills. When was the last time any of these chambers did that on an individual basis? We have 3.
Yeah, but they died on. They weren't going to go to the Senate on their own. And why is this motherfucker staring at us? Why is he staring? Look at him over there. I don't think he's really looking at us. I think he's looking right over the lens of the camera at whoever's holding it, and that's creeping me out.
That are sitting there ready to be passed, including with the one we're working through right now in Labor H. If we can work through some of the issues that you rightly recognize, that would be 10.
The issue of you being failures and assholes and not actually getting any of this done.
There's a couple more that have issues that we're trying to work through. Obviously, CJS got caught up in what happened.
Yeah, they both have issues. We know that.
Today with the rule. We can bring it back up the week after. The issue here is what is going to be the top line spending level. Appropriators don't want to adhere to the FRA. They want to adhere to what you saw in the exchange with me and Congresswoman DeLauro in the Rules Committee, night before last, where what you saw her admit were side deals where they could plus up all the spending using the kinds of slush.
Yeah, by the way, the other Republicans, this is his complaint, that red states are paid for by the blue states. And blue states could effectively, on a federal budgetary level, tighten their belts and get by just fine because they create enough revenue to solve most of their own shit. That's why they end up getting less back from the federal government than they put in. I think it's California's like 88 cents or 64 cents. And then Illinois is like 88 cents, something along those lines. And every other red state, with the exception of Texas, which is just ginormous, they get $1.12, $1.64 for every federal dollar that in taxes they send up the chain. They get more than they get more back than they send in. Where the fuck do you think that comes from? That comes from Republican House members in these rules committees creating buffers on this funding because they know that all of the red states, their districts and all this stuff are on the fucking take. They're hat in hand every fucking day.
Fund sitting in the Commerce Department right now that they've set up because the appropriators want to keep spending money to increase programs.
Right, and where's that money coming from? Those quote-unquote Democrat-run blue cities you fucking hate that are in the Democrat-run blue states that provide almost all of the federal tax dollars. Even in the cheat and the fucking get-around. You have any idea how many fucking red states Silicon Valley passes, tax dollars to over time? Like, Silicon Valley pretty much keeps, like, Montana, North and South Dakota, Wyoming, fucking most of Idaho afloat by itself.
I want to tell the American people one thing and then do something different.
Right, because they want to be fiscally responsible, but they live in impoverished red state districts that need all the fucking help they can get.
That's got to change.
So are you confident that you all will be able to avoid a government shutdown, fund a number of those bills by that January 9th, that first deadline?
We're not going to shut the government down, all right?
We're not going to shut the government down. We're just going to try and pass a bill that won't go anywhere. And other people will be forced to vote for something we pretend to hate that benefits our districts more than our cuts would.
If the Senate chooses to do that because we send something over to them that is reasonable, the American people can understand, that actually gets our funding towards a trajectory that doesn't.
What do you? Sorry, the Senate is the group that's like doesn't understand what's going on. They don't represent their people as well. They'll get to send it all back to us, and they don't understand. They don't. Pass the buck, why don't you? Jesus Christ.
Bankrupt America, that's going to be on them, not us.
The Speaker has said he won't do another CR. We're going to hold him to that. We're going to take him at his word to that effect. That means we got to pass the remaining 5 bills, as my colleagues have said. That puts us in the strongest negotiating position. But then the conference needs to support the Speaker in the negotiations with the Senate, and we cannot fear a government shutdown above all else. What we've got to fear is exacerbating our debt situation, which is the greatest fiscal crisis the country has ever faced.
No, it isn't. Honestly, Moody's only downgraded us from stable to, to shaky ground, whatever the fuck their term was, on our credit rating, because these motherfuckers want to shut down the government, not because we can't pay our bills, but because they don't want to.
The Republican Party needs to meet the moment and support the Speaker.
Support the Speaker. You mean the guy who just made the same deal McCarthy would have made, except better for Democrats?
Are there any tangible differences between Speaker Johnson and ousted Speaker Kevin McCarthy in terms of the policy that
Ooh, rough question.
they're actually putting on the floor?
No, what the difference is the time frame. Speaker Johnson
The time frame?
came in, if you characterize it as a football game, at the end of overtime, down 3 touchdowns, right? That's when Johnson came in, and you're
Whoa. So the reason he made these concessions is because you were in overtime, 3 touchdowns down, and he had to make these concessions because your coach is a fucking moron, and your coach isn't even the coach. He's he's like one of the bench players, because that's what Matt Gaetz would be in this stupid analogy.
trying to say, do you hold this quarterback to the same standard as the quarterback?
No, we're talking about the coach and the whole fucking team. What? The dude's leg wasn't broken, shithead. You pulled the guy for running a play that the next guy ran. He's run the same play. Jesus Christ.
That got us to that point. No, we do not.
But
Again, what a lame fucking butch answer.
another CR, would you hold it to that?
Okay, we gotta get the fuck out of here before they ask us that question again. I'm running out of stupid football analogies. Jesus Christ. So, I just wanted to take you down that road, because I kind of needed you guys, to see. Remember just how fucked up these guys are. This is ridiculous. They're a mess. These are the guys. That was a meeting of the primary players, besides Matt Gaetz and a couple others who weren't there because they're on the outs right now, or angry at each other, but they're all in lockstep anyways. These are the guys who kicked out Kevin McCarthy, put in Mike Johnson, and then he ended up, because he had to, and he didn't have a choice, really. He just didn't have a choice, really. You fuckers voted him out. They're a wreck, and they're going to stay a wreck. This is not going to change. You think they're going to come back after Thanksgiving and have found Jesus or in a turkey leg? The living shit. What?